You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show right here in 2025. I am so excited to kick off this new season. We are now in season 4. Can you believe it? Season 4 of The Whole Living Show. And I have an amazing guest to kick off this new season. But before I introduce her, I want to tell you about something because you know what we do on this show. We talk about everything health and wellness. Well, don't know if you've heard, so I want to give it to you. This is my public service announcement that there was a recall on carrots due to the link to E. coli. And there has been reportedly, sadly, one death in connection with this recall. And these carrots are found in Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and Wegmans. So listen, here's something I want to say about this. Do not be fooled by the stores that you believe, or we are led to believe, are the healthiest stores to shop in, because here we are. They have received carrots from a farm that has been known to have cases of E. coli on their carrots, and now they are recalling all of these carrots. And there have been multiple people that have gotten sick from this. But like I said, sadly to report one death. So we want to make sure that you are staying healthy out there, that you are staying aware of the things that are happening, right? Because sometimes we can take for granted the things that are in the grocery store, especially when we feel like, or we're being told that these stores are healthier than others. I want you to be mindful, to pay attention, to look at, what's being reported, to be aware, and make sure that you are protecting yourself and your family from, these illnesses and diseases that are coming about just for the simple fact of, going to the store and buying your food out of the grocery store. I will say this because I'm in the state of North Carolina, in the Charlotte area, and my beautiful friend, I can't even take credit for it, so I have to give her the credit where the credit is due. My beautiful friend came to visit me from Georgia and found a farmer's market here that we visited that I go to now every week. It is my happy place. I cannot do without the farmers market. And what I love about this particular farmers market is they have local farmers coming in with all of their produce. They even have meat farmers coming in with their meat, I absolutely love that. And then they also have just, those things where people are culturing their own products in terms of making oils and balsamic vinegars, and there's some vegan food stores there. I mean, they're just doing it up at this farmers market, and I absolutely love it. So if you can find a farmers market in your area where you can support local farmers, people from that area who are actually making their products with integrity, please, go by, support the local businesses for one, but also get the products that are going to be better for you, for your health, for your family, and for your communities. Share those things too. Share those places that you find with the people in your life as much as you can, so that people out here can live healthy lifestyles. So if you want to know more about the farmers market, if you are in my area right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you want to know more about that farmers market, reach out to me. I will share that with you. But I wanted to give you that tidbit. So be careful when you are purchasing carrots these days, and just stay aware, stay abreast of what's happening, on the news, but also pay attention to what people are reporting on social media. Oftentimes now you can get the truth from some people that are on social media that are trying to help people stay aware, that are being cautious, that are getting the information, and they are sharing it out to let us know what is not good for our bodies, so that we can make sure that we are consuming the right food products, and all products, right, for ourselves and our community. So I wanted to share that with you. But listen, everyone, I have a guest backstage who is absolutely amazing. And I was telling her before, the show started, that she is just the real deal. She has a book out, and I'm not going to share it just yet because I want to read you her bio, but she has a book out. But I wanted to tell you about her book. As soon as I started reading the book, I was like, oh, okay, she's just going to jump right into this. She captured me from the very first chapter. I will tell you this. So you have to make sure that when we share the links and the code for her book, that you're going to get this book, because it is an amazing read. And it's also meant to help you to get through your life. So my beautiful guest is Shawnti Refuge. She is a master certified mental health coach, keynote speaker, and author of the best-selling book that I just mentioned, Quiet as Kept. You see this book right here? She specializes in guided journaling for mental wellness. After overcoming severe depression and anxiety through journaling, Shawnti developed her own program, empowering individuals to heal and thrive without medication. She is the creator of Shawnti Refuge Journals, which carries a series of guided journals designated to help others release past traumas. With her relatable, no-nonsense approach, Shawnti's mission is to inspire personal growth and awareness. She is the founder of Staying Stuck Ain't Cute, y'all, coaching, and a passionate advocate for mental health in both business and community settings. Here is one of the journals right here. I wanted to show you this, and this has just so much wealth in here, but we'll get into that in a minute when she comes on. But I want to introduce you, and I want you to give her a virtual round of applause to Shawnti Refuge. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
You had me back here dancing, girl. You talking? I was like, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the love. I really do. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into this because, like I said, the book is capturing right from the very beginning. So I want you to start by telling a little bit of your story, giving people a background of who you are, how you started out. And then I'm going to ask some questions in regards to the book, and just mention some things that, I've read thus far in your book.
Okay, no problem. My name is Shawnti Refuge. I love the way you say my name. I had said that in the background. I love how she says my name. I love it.
Yes.
And you're saying it correctly, so maybe that's why a lot of people get it wrong. But anyway, I am Shawnti Refuge. I am a certified mental health coach, mental health advocate, all that stuff. How I got started not on purpose. Back in hey Bree, I got started back in 2018. I had a mental breakdown. And I didn't know I was having one at the time. I just knew I had lost all control of my emotions. So it was a cycle of being mad, angry, cussing people out, withdrawing, crying. It was just like a roller coaster ride, and I could not get off of it. And, at first I thought it was a funk. And then I'm like, okay, now this ain't no funk, because it went on for like a month. And I finally went to get help, but I didn't know who to go to. So I went to my primary care doctor. So I had been with her for a while. So, okay, she'd be able to tell me why I'm acting crazy, because I was acting crazy. And I went to her and I told her, hey, I'm not feeling good. This is going on. And she said, oh, it sounds like you're a little depressed. Let me give you some antidepressants. And I'm like, I don't want them, but I'll take them. I trust you, but let me go ahead and take it. I took it. And she said, come back in 6 weeks and let me know how it worked. I came back in 6 weeks and I said, this ain't working. And it was not. My symptoms were getting worse. I was very verbally aggressive. And I did not like that. It's like I was outside of myself, watching myself be verbally aggressive to people who didn't deserve it. Like if you said good morning to me, I was ready to fight.
Wow.
Like, this ain't no good morning. Why are you telling me good morning? I was wild.
Yeah. And I want to stop you right there for 1 second, because I just want to mention this too, because we talk about mental health, and I'm not saying that medication is not necessary in some cases, but I do want to highlight that, that's usually the first step. And I don't think it should be. You know what I mean? So I'm going to put my own opinion out there.
That's mine.
I want you to continue, because I remember you telling me part of this story, but I want you to continue there, because that should not be the first step, especially when you don't even understand the problem yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But when I went to her and I came back and I said, this ain't working, she was like, well, I'm not saying nothing's wrong with it. I say it like that because that's exactly how she said it to me. She said, I'm not saying something's wrong with you, but I think you need to go see a psychiatrist. I'm like, Black people don't go see psychiatrists. Because that was the mindset I had. I'd never known a Black person or a person who looks like me to say, oh yeah, I have a psychiatrist. Because when you hear the word psychiatrist, you think crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now I ain't crazy. I'm acting crazy, but I ain't crazy. I ain't going to a psychiatrist. But, I had to reason with myself because that verbal aggression was turning physical. So I said, okay, Shawnti, you either going to jail or you going to see the psychiatrist. Which one do you want? And I'm like, okay, I'm too cute to go to jail. So let me go on and see the psychiatrist.
That's right.
So it took me a month. First of all, let me state that it took a month to get a psychiatrist appointment. So keep in mind, during all that time, I was wilding. Oh my goodness. And it was awful. I was awful. I was.
What was the impact on the lives of the people that you love, that you're surrounded by?
They were mad at me. They did not understand why I had turned into Evelina. Yeah. But I didn't know either. Yeah. So, I went ahead and went to the psychiatrist and I told her what was going on, repeated the same story, and she wanted to give me antidepressants. And I'm like, why are y'all keep trying to give me antidepressants? I don't want that. I want to know why I'm acting like this. Because, medication, it doesn't solve your problem. It just shuts you up. Right. And like you, I am not against medication. For those of you who need it, have at it. I did not want that for me. I knew there was another way that I can uncover, okay, why are you acting like this? Because I never want to have that experience again.
Right.
Cookie Lines. I just walked in here with her Cookie Lines coat on. So I told her I don't want that. And she said, okay, well, I think you need to see a therapist. Baby, if Black people don't see psychiatrists, they sure don't see therapists. Man, I don't know anybody, and you know what? I learned that I didn't know anybody who would see a psychiatrist or a therapist because we were told not to tell our business.
Yeah.
So there probably were people around me going to therapy, but just not saying so. So that made me not want to go, but I went, my first therapist, she did not help me at all. I had to fire her.
Stop right there for 1 second.
Yeah, okay.
That is so key. That is so key. When you know that somebody is not resonating with you, especially where, it's a physician of any type, right? That needs to help you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and they are not resonating with you and you feel like they're not helping you, you have to fire that person. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they work for you, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
And I think that I didn't come to that realization until maybe 3 or 4 months into that therapy. Said, okay, she's not helping me. All she was doing was taking in my tea, but not giving me any resources, or, help. She wasn't helping me. So I had to let her go. And you're reading a book about that. And then I found another therapist, the second therapist. Keep in mind, every time you find a therapist, it takes almost a month to get in their office. That's number one. Then you have to tell your story all over again. So now here I am, the fourth time telling my story, and this woman ghosted me. She ghosted me after the first appointment. I guess I was too much for her. She could have told me, but she ghosted me. So I had to find another therapist. And by then, I had developed abandonment issues because I'm like, okay, dang, what did I say to make her not want to work with me?
Sure.
So God bless the third therapist, because keep in mind, I'm still acting like I was acting, more so now. And I had my third therapist. I said, look, you are my last hope. I mean, I was full of attitude, baby, based on my voice and everything. I said, look, I guess I'm going to go to jail if you can't help me, because I'm tired of telling this story all over again. And you the third person. And I just guess I'm going to jail. She was just looking at me like, she let me finish. And she said, I'm not leaving you. I'm going to help you. And she did. And that's how I learned that I was going through severe depression and anxiety. So I had a name for what was going on with me. And so through talk therapy, just talking, I started feeling better. And then she introduced me to journaling. And I will tell you, at first, I'm like, that's white people stuff. Black people don't journal. I did. And she was like, no, journaling is for everybody. And I'm like, well, why I have to journal? I was awful. Why I have to journal? I already know what happened. Why am I writing about it? Journaling the wrong way. So she taught me how to journal, specifically with guided journaling. She gave me prompts. Give me them. She gave me prompts. And just by answering those prompts, pen to paper, writing down, I started feeling better. I could not believe that. I'm like, wait a minute. Is this some kind of witchcraft, some kind of joke? Something. Ain't no way. I'm just answering these questions and I'm feeling better. I'm telling you, she gave me, I would see her once a week. So by the second week with the prompts, I started feeling better. And I mean, when I was going through this, I could literally see a black cloud over my head. Like this Charlie Brown character, the one who walks around with the cloud, that was me. Wow. I could identify with that because that's what I really felt. But those clouds started to dissipate. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm feeling better. I ain't taking nothing. I'm not, doing unhealthy, because before I was doing unhealthy coping. I forgot to mention that. So unhealthy coping, I was drinking, drugging, sexing, doing all the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Those temporary pleasures. But this was giving me pleasure because I was healing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was healing. All I knew was I was getting it out. So apparently I had a bunch of stuff going on in my head that I wasn't talking about. And through journaling, I was able to get it out.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I want to get into the book too, like from the very beginning. And I got like notes. I have my highlighter, everything.
I know, I saw that. I said, y'all, she really reading my book. She got the little stuff going on.
I got the highlighter, let me tell you.
And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great read. So I'm just gonna say this. This is chapter 1, right? One thing that I want to highlight here. One is that your name means peace.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, and I'll save this for the end. We have to remember to come back around to this, because there's something very significant in when we have things that are kind of put on us on purpose, right? Because I feel like that was a purpose-given name by your Father and by God, right? So I want to come back to that, but I wanted to mention that your name means peace. But you just started off saying that your childhood wasn't the greatest, and right on the second page of the first chapter, you go into the physical abuse from your mom, right? Which was a little bit shocking to me in this, right? Because it seemed like she had it, as you're reading, it seemed like, she was doing her thing, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, you drop that on us, right? So talk about, and this continues. So talk about, the effects of that and how that came up through your journaling and therapy, and talk about that.
Yeah, well, when I started therapy, we started from childhood. She said, "Give me your childhood memory that you remember." And the one I remembered is when she literally kicked me outside. I remember that, and I had to be 3 or 4 years old when that happened, but I remembered it.
Yeah,
and that stuck with me. And so I didn't even know that was abuse. Didn't know it. And all the whippings I would get and stuff, I didn't know that was abuse.
Yeah.
I'm for spanking a kid. Don't get me wrong. I will pat your butt in a minute, tap that hand, but the level, the extremity, I wasn't aware of that. So I learned. She was like, "No, you were abused. That's physical abuse." Didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know how deep that starts to resonate in a person when you don't even find out until later that was abuse, even though you felt something was wrong with it, right? Like, because you remembered that most of the time at 3 or 4 years old, we can't recall details like that of our life, right? But when there's something so significant that happens like that, right? You remember that detail at 4 years old, right? You were 4 years old. So, to have that resonate so deeply and not even know, because sometimes we're pushed into a life where we think it's normal until later on we find out that it's not.
I thought it was normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then you went on to talk about, your little sister. So through all the things that you were going through with your mom, and then, she has another child, and you talk about what you've identified right then, like the jealousy that you had for your little sister. So talk about the impacts of even that,
When she's a middle sister now, but back then she was the baby sister. And keep in mind, we have big age gaps. We're 6 years apart. So I was 6 when my sister was born, and when she was born, I got to name her. I thought she was for me. I thought that was my baby. So, we were fine until, I guess, I don't know what age it was, but I started noticing the difference in treatment, and it was like she was getting everything in my mind and I was getting nothing. So that had made animosity between the two of us. Well, with me anyway. I treated her badly. I did. We used to fight. When I tell you we used to fight, we never got along, ever. We didn't start getting along until we were grown. But when I tell you we used to fight, like my mom used to get the broom to break us up from fighting. Wow. That's the kind of fighting we used to do. And it was because I can admit, yes, I was jealous of her because I felt like she was getting treated better than I was getting treated. Like she got away with murder. And me, any little thing I did, I was getting knocked upside the head. And so, and I even went and reported it. I remember reporting it to my counselor back then in elementary school. And my counselor said, "Oh, you're just jealous. Go back to class."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that's different, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading too that you were talking about, going to school with what you call the stars on your cheek. And no one said anything even that day. Like, wow.
Nope. And I was doing my best to hide it.
Yeah.
I remember my 2nd grade teacher came into the 3rd grade class to check on us to see how we were doing, because we were in advanced class. That's what they called it back then. They call it AP now. But he came to check on us. And when he came, I hid, because it was on this side of my face. I had a belt mark going down my face like this.
Wow.
And the belt had stars on it. So I had literal stars on my face.
Wow.
And nobody asked me nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And no one said anything. And, you think about that's society then, though, versus now.
Yeah.
Right. Because like you said earlier, right. Like you said earlier, everything back then was always this quiet as kept. You talk about what's going on in your home, and, and even people labeled it as you are a bad child, you deserved to get spanking, right? Because it was just so they were so accustomed to that behavior in families back then. Oh man. So bring us up a little bit more, right? You're going through now, you have moved to Houston, you become a young adult, you had your own child, you moved to Houston. Talk about, that time period and even how that kind of shaped and molded what you then found out about yourself later.
We got to back up. We got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
I had my first child when I was 14. So I was in the 8th grade. And she on here now, hey, baby. Yeah, so I didn't know that was traumatic. So just imagine an 8th grader. Right. That was me. And that drove, that had me, what's the word I'm looking for? It had a lot to do with the way I was acting back then. I was rebellious. I always was rebellious. You tell me not to do something, I'm gonna do it 3 times. That's the kind of person. I still am like that, but in a good way. But back then, I did any and everything. But I did graduate high school. That was one thing. Because I was told that I was gonna have, when they found out I was pregnant. Oh, you're gonna have 5 kids, one behind each other, and you ain't gonna graduate high school. Let me watch me. I graduated with a 3-year-old, just one kid. And I went on to move to Houston, and I ended up having another one. But I got married too. I was married at the time, and I had my second child. So when I got to Houston, I felt like it was a whole different planet from where I came from, because people were free, they were living life, and it was nothing like where I came from. So when I got to Houston, I was wilding out. I was doing the most.
I want to mention something too, because you moved to Houston. You mentioned the family members saying that you were going to have multiple kids by multiple different fathers and all that. You ended up moving with the aunt, right?
Yeah,
told me that. Right? Yeah. So did that have an impression on your life going forward? I know you mentioned that there was a lot of love with her though too.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
That's one thing I could say about me. Like I said, you tell me I can't do something, Shawnti's gonna do it 3 times just to show you.
Yeah.
Show you better than I can tell you. So that didn't affect me.
That's awesome. That's awesome to have that mindset, right? To be able to say, you know what, I can defy whatever odds you're trying to put against me. I can defy them all. So you had a baby at 14, your daughter. How did you feel about being a mother, and what did you want to do different and implement differently from what your mother did?
Girl. First of all, I never intended on having children, ever. I always said that, hey, my baby. I always said that. She go right there, Tavia. I always said I ain't having no kids. I don't want to be around no kids. But but of course, when you do things that you're not supposed to be doing, ta-da, you're a mom. So I said that I was gonna be different from my mama. I'm gonna spend time with my baby. I'm gonna do stuff with her. I'm gonna show up to her events at school, and I did. I did. We had a good relationship. I think when I moved to Houston and started wilding out, that's when, because I ended up letting her, like when I moved to Houston, we moved with my aunt. But when it was time to move, I was immature and didn't know any better. I was like 19, 20. And I let my child make a choice of whether she wanted to come move with me or stay in the house with all 6 of her cousins. And guess what she chose? She wanted to stay with her cousins because, there's a bunch of kids. And I didn't think anything of it back then. But if I could go back, I would have taken her with me when I left.
How did that mold your relationship? Because it seems like you still had a good relationship with her, even though she wasn't in the household.
We did, we did. And
Mhm.
when I got pregnant with my second child, I was like, okay, I gotta get her. I gotta have her here because I don't want her thinking that, I'm throwing her away
Yeah.
and because I have a new baby coming. So, moved her back.
Mhm.
Then, oh my God, I wasn't ready for them teenage years. Oh my Lord. And she was a good child. She was made good grades, honor student. She was fantastic until the ninth grade when some little boy blew in her ear.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
always how it happens for us.
God. And I wasn't ready for it. And,
Yeah.
you know, I did my best with her. But ultimately I ended up sending her to live with her grandmother because I
Mhm.
wanted her to get away from this particular boy who just had her floating on clouds and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I ain't gonna tell her business, but I ended up letting her move, sending her to her grandmother.
Okay.
And it was because of familiarity. And I knew all of the resources out there. I didn't know any in Houston, and we didn't have the internet like that back then. So
Mhm.
this was like 19 what? No, 2003, 4, 5, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
And so I ended up sending her there,
Now,
and
when
that's
you
when
say grandmother, just to clarify this for
mhm.
everybody watching, was it your mother or
No,
her paternal?
her paternal grandmother.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
who I initially sent her with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't have any support when I would tell people what's going on in my family, especially my mama. She was like, "Well, you did the same thing. Ain't nobody did it." I don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not
Mhm.
talking about what I did. I'm asking you for help with, but I didn't get it. So I sent her to live with her grandmother, and that's when our relationship became strained. I feel like she was mad at me because
Mhm.
I sent her away. And I
Mhm.
can understand why she felt the way she felt. So we ended up disconnecting, like
Mhm.
totally disconnecting for a while. And then we tried, here and there trying to reconnect, but it wasn't until my therapy sessions, my therapist told me to write down 5 people. Well, not 5 people, but write down the names of the people who need to have a come to Jesus meeting with.
Mhm.
And she was one of them. And so in 2019 is when we actually reconnected. I
Mhm.
made it out. We talked, we cried, and now that's my boo thing.
Yeah, I love it. I
For a
love
long
it.
time, I'm very involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love that. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break. Everyone, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I just
What you
want
going on?
to continue. That's right. Don't go anywhere because we're going to continue with this story and we're going to fast forward a little bit because I want to get into, you know,
Yes.
you starting the journals and
Hmm.
how these have helped and what they're doing, right? Because these are guided journals, which I
Hmm.
love. So we're going to get into that as well. So stay tuned, everyone. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Operate out of your dreams and your vision and not other people's expectation. Having breast cancer wasn't my choice, but the decision to live healthy so that I could stand before you here today, that's choice. You can choose this very moment to change your life from every perspective.
Tracy Randolph was our speaker. She came back because so many people liked her first presentation. I was one of those people that joined her fitness group, and it made me a better leader.
I grew up in a community, but they had limiting beliefs on what a little black girl could do. Everything that you do in this life is a choice. I choose to live healthy. I choose to change my mindset. I choose to be everything that I dreamed of because I choose faith and I choose me. Live healthy, be everything that you can be today. Choose yourself.
And we are back, and we are not going to delay. We are going to bring Shawnti right back in So let me get back into this. Hello, hello. So if you are just joining us, we have been talking to Shawnti Refuge, and she is the author of Quiet as Kept and also the guided journals. And there are several. So you have to go to her website. Before we get back into it, I want to be able to, at this point, just give everybody your QR code so that they can get the book because it
Yes.
is an amazing read. You see the cover there. You can just click that QR code right there and go ahead and order the book. We also want to provide her website as well because you can get the book, the journals, everything on her website. So you want to stay in touch with Shawnti. All right. And we will show that again later, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to do that right now. So let's get back into the story
Yes.
because this is just a lot of color, right? Your
Yes.
story, and you just give just a wealth of just color and just imagination, and then it goes into motivation, right? It goes from let me tell you the grueling part of my story to let me
Mhm.
give you some inspiration and motivation to let you know that you can change things. So kind of pivot a little bit. If there's something else that you want to tell about the past, though, please go ahead and do that. But then kind of pivot into, how life changed. You started off a little bit with that, but how life really changed for you.
I had no choice but to change. That's one, because after I had that nervous breakdown, I did not like it at all. And, that's part of the reason why I started my business because I don't ever want anyone else to go through that, alone because you feel alone. Even though there's probably 30 million people on the planet who having a nervous breakdown too, you feel like you are alone. And,
Mhm.
I didn't have the support system that I thought was going to be my support system. Let me say
Mhm.
that, and I'm quick to tell people your support is not your family. It ain't your friends.
Mhm.
I'm not saying they don't love you, but they are not equipped to support you through this type of process unless they're educated. I love you too, my baby. So I started feeling better. My therapist, she said, okay, it was like a year, maybe a year and a half after. She said, okay, Shawnti, this is gonna be our last session. And I'm like, you breaking up with me? You leaving me? She said, no, I'm not breaking up with you. But she said, but you have grown, you have gotten better. I can see your healing.
Mhm.
And you have the tools that you need. You know what you're doing. So you don't need me, and I don't want to be a crutch. And I cried. I did because it was like a breakup. Like, ma'am, I've been sitting on your couch crying and giving you attitude. Maybe I gave her the business. I did. And but she helped me, and that I think her letting me go like that was great
Yeah.
because I kept journal. I kept with the journaling. I kept with the prompts. I started doing my own prompts. How good I got with it.
Yeah.
And I came home and I made several different journals. I went and bought notebooks, and I had a notebook for every issue that I was going through. And I was writing, doing journaling prompts, doing affirmations, all of that. And because I learned that you don't write about all your issues in one journal.
Mhm.
How can you write about grief and then turn around and write about self-love and then manifestation and blah, 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 all in
Mhm.
one journal? You have to have
Mhm.
a separate journal. So I made separate journals. I'm
I,
feeling
I think that's so key too. I wanted
yeah.
to stop you there for just a moment. I like the way you do that because and I when I went on to get, and I actually have another one sitting on the other table over there, but when I went to get the journals, I loved how they were separate. Because think about when you're so bogged down with things, right? And if you start to write every little thing one after the other, you're just creating more confusion for yourself.
Exactly.
And when you want to go back and take a look at what you've written,
Mm-hmm.
everything doesn't need to be jumbled together because then you're just going to cause more anxiety,
There
right?
you go.
I
There you
love
go.
that. I love that. So continue.
So I'm writing, and I said out loud, I said, "Oh, I'm feeling good." And I swear I heard God say, okay, you're feeling good, but what about somebody else? There's somebody else who needs what you have. And I'm like, what you say? First of all, who is that? I literally heard that voice, and I'm like, because I've always heard people say, "Oh, God told me to tell you this," and I'd be like, "He ain't tell you that," because I did not believe that was possible,
Mhm.
baby. I don't know what part of the healing process, but
Mhm.
that mechanism is turned on. And he told me, you need to publish these. You need to get these out to people. There's people who need it. So Shawnti Refuge Journals was born in March of 2021. And that's all I did was make guided journals. And most of them, probably all of them, are based off every issue that I had.
Yeah. Oh, and how fitting, God, I tell you, God's amazing. How fitting that your journals were launched in March of 21.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It wasn't the height of COVID. It was kind of the settling of COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people were in such a traumatic place.
Yep.
To have this resource and still going through those things, right? To
Mm-hmm.
have this resource to be able to help get through. How fitting that God had you release these at that time period.
Baby, I
Yeah,
ain't want to, but I didn't. I said, okay, well, and I told you I was rebellious, but I
yeah,
wasn't being rebellious that time. I
yeah.
said, all right, I'm gonna do it. So, I created my cover. I learned how to make the journals. I got someone to show me how to make them, and then I had them published, and then I would go to vending events
Mm,
and just have my table and have my journal, tell people what it is, how I got started, the short version.
mhm.
And one day I was at a vending event, and one of the hosts came to my table and she said, "Okay, you ready to talk?" And I'm like, "Talk to who?" And she said, "I need you to get on stage and talk." I'm like, "I know." She said, "Yes, you're ready. Get
Mm,
on stage and talk." She said, "My speaker hasn't shown up, and I need you to get on."
amen.
When I tell you, I went to the back and had a full blown panic attack because I had never spoken. It's one thing to talk to someone face to face, but to
Mhm,
get in front of a group of strangers and tell your business.
mhm,
And I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna throw eggs at me. Ain't no eggs in this place. But
mhm.
still, I was having all these kind of like, oh, they're gonna boo me, they're gonna not like me. And I went to the back and I called my best friend. I said, girl, they're making me talk. I was crying and everything, out of breath, crying. And she said, B, if you don't get off my phone and go talk, that's all I need. And she hung up on me.
Yeah.
And I took some breaths and got on stage and told my story.
Amen.
And from that, people started asking me to speak at other events just to tell my story of how I overcame,
Mhm.
and it's possible. Like I said, I'm not against medication. My thing is, don't let it be your first choice.
Yeah.
If you need it, that is fine, but there are other resources, holistic resources.
Yeah.
If you're not into journaling, then go do some yoga.
Mhm,
Go outside and do some groundwork, do breath work, do
mhm,
meditation.
mhm.
I do all of those things now,
Yeah.
and it helps. No medication. I don't need it.
Yeah. I can remember going through cancer, and that was one of the things that the hospital told me. They're like, to try meditation. Excuse me,
Hmm.
get that out. But to try meditation, and I just thought meditation was woo woo. That because
Yes.
again, growing up in our culture,
Say
right,
that.
Black
Yes.
household, things like that were woo woo. And I
Yeah.
can remember them playing this tape for me at the hospital. Had like this free guided meditation, and they
Hmm.
played this tape for me, and my first instinct was to laugh because I didn't really get it. It didn't resonate with me. But once I really started doing it, I'm like, oh, this is good. And this is
Yes.
grounding and this is quieting my mind. And,
Yes.
so there's so many things out there. I would say, and it sounds like this is what you have done because you said I do all those things now.
Hmm.
And I do as well as a result of what I went through, right?
Yeah.
But it's an exploration. It is an
Yes.
exploration that
Yes.
you have to go on. Try that first before you go to pharmaceuticals, right? Before
Mhm.
you allow the doctors to give you medication. And again, we are not bashing doctors, we are not
No.
bashing medication, but
No.
I'm asking you to please take an exploratory trip with
Yes.
yourself so
Yes.
that you can understand what's happening for yourself first before you start to do things that are going to take away from the soundness of your mind,
Yes.
right? Take away from the physical health of your body, right? Because we
Mhm.
know that these things come with a lot of side effects, change the chemistry
Absolutely.
in your brain. Like, we want you to go on an exploration first. So I
Yeah.
love that you said, I do it all now. Right?
And they work. The
Yeah.
same stuff I was saying, well, that's white people stuff. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Not as black people stuff.
Yeah.
Because it helps.
Healthy people stuff.
Right,
Right?
right. It is working. The stuff
Yeah.
is working. So from me speaking, people started asking me, well, do you coach? I'm
Mhm.
like, I ain't no coach. I ain't qualified to coach nobody. I can tell you my story, and but I ain't no coach. Here I am, a coach.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because so many people wanted me to help them, help
Yeah.
themselves. And that's what I do. I help people help themselves.
Yeah.
Coaches, therapists, we cannot fix anybody.
Mhm.
Like, my therapist didn't fix me. She just she pulled out what was inside of me.
Absolutely.
It was already here. I
Absolutely.
just didn't know it. We had to dig through all the gunk and stuff to get to, and this is my purpose now.
Yeah.
I have found my purpose. I thought I knew what I was going to do, and
Yeah.
it sure wasn't this. I had no intentions, but I love it. I absolutely love what I do, because my goal is to have somebody, whoever I encounter, I want them to feel better
Yeah.
than they did before they came encounter me.
Yeah, yeah, amen to that. That resonates with me too, because that's how this all started. That's how the show started. I want people to live healthy lifestyles, mind, body, and spirit, because it takes the full
Yes.
person, right? It
Yes.
takes all of that to really be healthy. You can't just focus on the physical. You have to bring in the mental and the spiritual.
Exactly.
So I love that. And that's how you get better, right? God, all the power is always within.
Yep.
It is always within.
Yes.
However, there's guidance. You need guidance. And
Yep.
that's what coaches are for. That's what therapists are for. That's what, good people are for, right? To help you, to guide you, so that you can tap into that internal power to be able to make changes for your life. So I know that there's a lot of things coming up, because you did mention it before we started the show. Talk about what's coming, because I want people to be able to tap in to what you have going on coming up.
Well, let's see. My Staying Stuck Ain't Cute coaching is open. I'm accepting clients. I have 5 more spots left.
Mhm.
So if you're interested in that, we're starting on January 20th. So you got a couple of days to come on and get in this room. You're gonna be journaling. But the information is on my website. I have
QR code. Keep talking.
I have an event this Saturday in person in Pearland, Texas. If you're in the vicinity, it's called New Year Better Me. And we are going to shed some old stuff, visualize, and do some new goal setting. And we're going to share, we're going to release, we're going to cry, because mostly every time I have somebody crying. But it's good tears, not, it's a release.
Yeah.
And that's this Saturday from 11 to 2. And also, I have partnered with Noble Credit Consulting, and we are going church to church to educate our community about financial health, not just credit, but mindset. My partner, Rayford Watts, he is the owner of Noble Credit Consulting, and he's going to handle the credit part, educate you on your credit and all that. But Shawnti going to come in and educate you on your money mindset. And we're gonna change the way you think about money and how you feel about money, because some people are afraid of money, and some people want the money but don't want to change their mindset to get it.
Yeah.
Money's everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna come in and dust off that old stuff that our parents taught us, like money don't grow on trees. Yes, they do.
Yes, it does. That's right.
Money comes from trees.
That's right.
Use paper. The Federal Reserve, they cut down trees and do what they do and make money from the trees. So yeah, I'm educating on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I also have a lot of things coming up. Just go to my website and you will see under the tab that says upcoming events, you will see that. Of course, I have my guided journals for those of you who think you can heal on your own like me. And that was another thing, I provide a safe space, even in the guided journals. Even if you don't, want to work with me, that is fine. But, always know that in order to heal, you have to do it in a safe space. You can't heal in a space that caused you your traumas.
Yes.
You have to be in a safe space, and that's what I provide with my guided journals. And there's affirmations in there because I definitely believe in speaking over yourself. You have to speak over yourself. You have to, erase all, turn those negative thoughts around.
Yeah. I love it. I love everything that you said. I love all the things that you have coming up. And I a different spin on the things is to help people with money, right? I love that because in our communities, right, we're so stuck on, and I'm saying this, yep, this is my opinion, everybody, but it's what you see the majority of, right? We're so stuck on things that don't make sense, right? To make it look like we have money. And we were talking about this earlier, right? Where you see people on social media and they have things and the things look good and the things make it look like that you have money. That's not where it is, everyone. So I love what you're doing, that you're going to change the mindset of people to understand how to, build wealth, right? How to keep the wealth, right? How to build,
build it and keep it. There's no sense in building it and you blow it in a year.
Yeah.
And then start all over from scratch. No, that means your mindset isn't right.
Absolutely.
So I'm here to get your mindset right so you can get that money and keep it and invest. People always, we're invest, especially in our community, we invest in the wrong things. Like you see, things you could see, and ain't nothing wrong with that. But what about your inside?
Yeah.
Why don't you want your inside to match your outside?
Yeah. And I always say, and I'm a health coach, right? And I've been saying this since I started this journey, is that I see all of, like, because I go to different events and you have all these conferences and people talk about wealth and abundance so much, right? Everybody wants to do that, but I see people not living healthy. That's why I love that your approach is different to that. I love that you're giving them the practical piece, because normally you get the practical piece of how to build the credit, how to invest, how to do all of that. But if you don't change what's up here, right, and even what's in here around money, then you won't keep it. You won't know how to grow it. You won't know how to share and build legacies to teach your children even how to
do on that. Yes.
Yeah. So I love that you're taking a different approach, because I always say people aren't living healthy, whatever perspective that comes from. It's not always physical.
Yeah,
people aren't healthy.
Yeah.
And everybody's worried about what they see happening. So,
half of that stuff is fake.
Yeah.
Half of that is fake.
And that's the thing. Like, it's like jumping on the bandwagon to what you see, but it's not really healthy, right?
It is not.
Yeah. So I love this. I hate that the show is almost over. I want to give you the opportunity. I know it went by so fast. I want to give you the opportunity to give your last words, and then I want to share your QR code again.
Okay. Well, for anyone who is watching and or listening, I want you to know that, healing is possible. I am living proof that healing is possible. I could have taken that route after I found out, what the issue was. I could have taken that easy route and, done things that I shouldn't have done. You can overcome anything. It doesn't matter. Your past does not define you. Your today defines you. How you are today. And, we hold on to things that we need to let go of. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy for us mentally, emotionally, or physically, because when we hold on to things, it manifests physically. Those achy joints, those, you don't have knees like Meg no more because you're worrying about somebody else and what they doing. That stuff resonates in your joints and your shoulders and all of that. But, you are worthy of healing. You are worth healing.
Yeah.
But you have to do it yourself. Nobody can fix you.
Amen.
People like myself and Tracy, we are here to guide you, to assist you, to support you. And, it's feasible. Pay attention to what you're spending your money on. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself where you can see the fruits of your labor.
Amen. And you said something there, right? You said I could have taken the easy route, and that route would have seemed easy initially, right? But I want to say, because you're glowing right now.
Yes,
Look at the glow, right? That comes from you being able to heal yourself internally and do that naturally. And then I want to go back to the meaning of your name, right? Because you can see the peace all over you now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I didn't know you before when things happened, but I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet that peace wasn't on you.
No.
You weren't living up to your namesake.
No.
But God gave you that journey. Yeah.
I didn't realize my name meant peace until the lady at the corner store told me. She asked me what my name was.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Shawnti. She said, your name means peace.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
See that?
And that was that.
Yeah. And the journey that God took you through to get to your namesake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I bless you. I thank you for being here. You know, feel free to come back anytime to share whatever you have going on. But everybody out there, please make sure that you go on, you get the books, you have Quiet is Kept, which is the book, you have the journals here, and there's multiple journals for different purposes. So this one is the Gratitude and Goals journal, but there are others on the website. I'm going to give you the QR code. Once again, click there, go explore on her website, take your exploratory journey for yourself to heal. And you can do that right here by looking at Shawnti's website. So I'm going to keep that up there for one moment. And then we're going to close out the show. I will see all of you beautiful people next week right here on The Whole Living Show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure that you tune in, stay connected with us because there's more goodness coming all 2025. Take care, everyone. Amen. Take care.
Take care.